March 14th, 2022. Tyler Brennan was 28 years old, standing in a Case IH dealership parking lot outside Des Moines, Iowa, with his phone in one hand and the keys to a brand new Steiger 620 in the other. The tractor behind him was red and black and enormous. 600 horsepower, articulated steering, tracks instead of tires. It cost $497,000, and Tyler had financed every single cent of it. He turned the phone camera toward himself, grinned, and hit record. "We did it," he said. "Brand new Steiger. Let's go." That video got 300,000 views in 2 days. 6 months later, Tyler would lose the tractor, the farm, and everything his grandfather had built over 60 years. This is the story of what happened in between. If you're watching this because you care about farming, about the real decisions people make when the stakes are this high, hit subscribe. These stories matter. They're not about celebrating wins or mocking losses. They're about understanding what happens when ambition, timing, and debt collide. Let's keep telling them. Now back to Tyler. Tyler Brennan grew up on 1,200 acres outside Webster City, Iowa. His grandfather bought the land in 1961 with a handshake loan and 20 years of payments. His father expanded it in the 1980s, survived the farm crisis, and handed Tyler the operation in 2019 when he retired to Arizona for health reasons. Tyler was confident. He'd grown up on YouTube, watching farming channels blow up. He'd seen people his age turn tractors into content and content into sponsorships. He believed farming didn't have to be the slow, quiet grind his grandfather had endured. It could be fast, it could be visible, it could be profitable in new ways. He started a TikTok account in 2020, posted videos of planting season, breakdowns, morning coffee in the cab. By 2021, he had 40,000 followers. Brands started reaching out. Small stuff at first, hats, work gloves, diesel additives, but it was validation, proof that he was doing something right. Tyler's girlfriend at the time, Jessica, a teacher from Fort Dodge, didn't understand the appeal. "Why do you need strangers watching you work?" she asked one night over dinner. "It's not about them watching," Tyler said. "It's about building something, a brand, a presence. You already have a farm." "Yeah, but this is different. This is the future." Jessica didn't push back, but she didn't seem convinced either. They broke up in December 2021. She said it wasn't about the farm or the videos. She said it was about priorities, about feeling like she was competing with a phone for his attention. Tyler told himself she just didn't get it. The Case IH Steiger 620 wasn't an impulse buy. Tyler had been thinking about it for a year. His current tractor, a 2005 Case IH Magnum 305, was paid off but aging. It needed injector work. The transmission was slipping. It could handle the acres, but barely. And every spring, Tyler lost time waiting on repairs or babying it through wet fields. The Steiger was different. It was new. It was fast. It was powerful enough to pull a 48-row planter without hesitation. And critically, it was content. A machine like that would dominate his feed. It would pull views. It would prove he'd made it. Tyler had gone to the dealership 3 times before he committed. The first time, in November 2021, he just walked the lot, looked at the machines, touched the paint, climbed into a cab. The salesman, a guy named Rick, mid-50s, friendly but not pushy, let him sit there for 20 minutes without saying a word. When Tyler finally climbed down, Rick handed him a spec sheet. "Just in case you want to think about it," he said. Tyler thought about it every day for 2 months. The second visit was in January 2022. This time, Tyler brought numbers, spreadsheets, projected yields, fuel costs, payment schedules. Rick walked him through the financing options. 10% down, 7-year term, fixed rate at 5.2%. "It's aggressive," Rick said, "but if you're confident in your operation, it's doable." "I am," Tyler said. "Then let's see what we can put together." The third visit was on March 1st. Tyler brought his father on speakerphone. His dad was in Arizona, dealing with COPD, too weak to travel, but still sharp enough to ask hard questions. "What's the payment?" his dad asked. "Just under $7,000 a month," Tyler said. "And you're sure you can cover that?" "If corn stays above $6? Yeah." There was a long pause. "Tyler, your grandfather built this farm with cash. I built it with manageable debt. You're building it with, what, hope?" "It's not hope, Dad. It's a plan." "Plans change. Markets change. Weather changes. I know, but I can't keep farming with equipment that's 20 years old. I'm losing time, losing efficiency. Another pause. It's your farm now, his dad said finally. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm also not going to tell you it's a good idea. Tyler thanked him and hung up. He signed the papers that afternoon. So in January 2022, Tyler walked into the dealership and started the conversation. The numbers were aggressive. $497,000, 10% down, $49,700 up front, which Tyler pulled from his operating line of credit. The rest was financed over 7 years at 5.2% interest. Monthly payments just under $7,000. The dealer didn't push him. Tyler pushed himself. "Can I make this work?" he asked. The dealer pulled up a projected cash flow sheet. If corn hit $6 a bushel and yields stayed average, yes. Barely. But yes, Tyler signed. He told himself the Steiger would pay for itself. More acres covered faster, less downtime, better efficiency. And the content? The content would bring in side income, sponsorships, affiliate links, maybe even a partnership with Case IH themselves if the videos performed well enough. On March 14, 2022, the Steiger was delivered. Tyler filmed the whole thing, the truck pulling into the yard, the unloading, the first walk-around, his hands on the steering wheel, the engine starting for the first time. He posted the video that night with the caption, "Biggest move of my life. Let's see what this thing can do." The comments exploded. "Let's go! You're gonna crush it, bro. That's a beast. How much did that cost? Rip your bank account, Lomeo." Tyler didn't respond to that last one, but he screenshot it and saved it in his camera roll. He looked at it sometimes late at night when he couldn't sleep. April 2022 was perfect. The Steiger ran flawlessly. Tyler covered 1,800 acres in 8 days, 3 days faster than he'd ever managed before. The machine was everything the dealer had promised: smooth, powerful, reliable. He posted daily updates, cab view videos of the planter unfolding, sunset shots of the Steiger silhouetted against the horizon, time-lapses of fields going from bare soil to planted rows. His follower count jumped to 65,000. A seed company reached out about a sponsored post. $500 for a 30-second mention in a video. Tyler took it. He called his dad to tell him. "I got a sponsorship deal," Tyler said. "How much?" $500. Silence. "Dad?" "That's good, Tyler. I'm glad it's working out." But his dad's voice sounded tired, not convinced, just tired. Then May arrived. Diesel prices, which had been climbing slowly all winter, spiked. In January, Tyler had been paying $3.10 a gallon. By mid-May, it was $5.80. The Steiger burned fuel differently than the Magnum. It was bigger, heavier, more powerful. On a full day's work, it could go through 120 gallons. At $5.80 a gallon, that was $696 per day. Tyler had budgeted for fuel, but not for this. His operating line of credit, which he'd planned to use for seed, chemicals, and general expenses, was now being drained by diesel costs twice as fast as he'd projected. He didn't panic yet. Corn prices were still strong. Futures were trading at $7.60 a bushel in May. If that held through harvest, he'd be fine. More than fine. He'd have room to breathe. But fuel wasn't the only thing climbing. Fertilizer prices had doubled since 2021. Herbicides were up 30%. Every input cost more than it had the year before. And Tyler's budget, built in January, was now completely obsolete. By June, he was $40,000 deeper into his operating line than he'd planned. He didn't tell anyone, not his dad, not his friends, not even the internet. He just kept posting videos, kept smiling into the camera, kept acting like everything was under control. He posted a video in late June titled "The Real Cost of Farming in 2022. It was more serious than his usual content. No jokes, no hype. Just Tyler sitting in the cab, camera propped on the dash, talking about diesel prices and input costs and the stress of watching expenses spiral. The video did well. 180,000 views, thousands of comments from other farmers saying they were dealing with the same thing. But views didn't pay the fuel bill. One comment stood out. "Bro, you shouldn't have bought that Steiger. Everyone saw this coming." Tyler stared at that comment for a long time. Had everyone seen this coming? Had he been the only one stupid enough to think it would work? July was hot and dry. Tyler's corn started showing stress by mid-month. The plants were shorter than they should have been. Leaf curl, tassel issues. He walked the fields every evening, checking soil moisture, hoping for rain. It didn't come. The heat pressed down like a weight, day after day. No clouds, no relief. Tyler started waking up at 4 a.m., unable to sleep, staring at the ceiling, running numbers in his head. If yields dropped 15%, if corn prices fell to $6, if diesel stayed high, the math never worked. By early August, the writing was on the wall. Yields were going to be down. Not catastrophic, but noticeably below average. Tyler's county extension agent estimated losses of 15 to 20% across the region. Tyler stopped posting as often. His followers noticed. "Where you at, man? Everything good? Post something, bro. We missed the content." He filmed a video in mid-August. Tried to keep it upbeat. Talked about how farming was always a gamble, how dry years happen, how you just had to roll with it. But his hands were shaking slightly when he held the camera. He refilmed it 3 times before he got a version he could post. The real problem wasn't the yield loss. The real problem was that corn prices had started falling. In May, futures had been $760. By August, they dropped to $620. By early September, they were at $5.80 and still sliding. Tyler ran the numbers. If he harvested 160 bushels per acre instead of the 190 he'd projected, and if corn stayed at $5.80, his total revenue would be roughly $840,000. His total expenses, fuel, seed, chemicals, fertilizer, land rent, insurance, and the Steiger payment were just over $790,000. That left $50,000 to live on, to cover property taxes, to make the payment on his pickup truck, to fix anything that broke, to eat, to keep the lights on. It was technically possible, but it required perfection. No equipment failures, no surprise expenses, no mistakes. Tyler had never had a perfect year in his life. Harvest started on September 22nd. The Steiger performed beautifully. Tyler ran it 14 hours a day, pulling a 12-row corn head, emptying into grain carts, hauling to the elevator. For the first week, he let himself believe it might work. The corn was dry, the weather was clear, the machine was flawless. Maybe he'd get lucky. Maybe the universe would cut him a break. On September 29th, 1 week into harvest, the Steiger threw a hydraulic error code. Tyler was in the middle of a field when it happened. The machine lurched, then stopped. Dashboard lit up red. He sat there for 5 minutes, staring at the screen, feeling something cold settle in his chest. Then he called the dealer. "Can you get someone out here? We've got 3 other calls ahead of you, probably Saturday." It was Wednesday. Tyler couldn't wait until Saturday. He had 800 acres left to cut, and rain was forecast for early next week. If the corn sat in the field wet, he'd lose quality, lose money. He called an independent mechanic. Guy charged $250 just to drive out and diagnose it. Turned out a sensor had failed. Part was on back order. Mechanic bypassed it temporarily, said it should hold for a few days but not to push it hard. Cost $800. Tyler got back in the cab and kept going. He didn't post about it. On October 4th, the Steiger overheated, coolant leak, radiator hose had cracked. This time, the dealer got someone out within a day, fixed it. Cost $1,200. Tyler was bleeding cash in the corn. The corn was coming off at 158 bushels per acre, worse than he'd feared. Every truckload felt like a defeat. He'd stand at the edge of the field, watching the grain cart empty into the semi, doing the math in his head. Not enough. Never enough. He posted a video on October 10th, called it Harvest Reality Check. He looked exhausted, hadn't shaved in a week, sitting in the cab at sunset, hat pulled low, talking quietly into the camera. "I don't know if we're going to make it," he said. "I don't know if the math works anymore." His voice cracked slightly on the last word. He almost deleted the video, but he posted it anyway. That video got 400,000 views. The comments were split. Half were supportive, farmers sharing their own struggles, people saying they respected his honesty. The other half were brutal. "Shouldn't have bought a $500 tractor. This is what happens when you farm for TikTok. You did this to yourself, bro. Clout chasing doesn't pay the bills." Tyler read every single comment. He told himself he didn't care, but he read them again at 2 a.m. when he couldn't sleep. The bank call. On October 18th, Tyler's banker called. We need to talk about your operating line. Tyler's credit line had a limit of $250,000. He was at $238,000. I know, Tyler said. I'll pay it down after harvest. When's harvest finishing? 2 weeks, maybe less. And what are your projected revenues? Tyler told him. There was a long pause. Tyler, that's not enough to cover the line and make your equipment payment. I know, but I'll figure it out. I can defer some expenses. We need a plan. A real one. Can you come in next week? Tyler went in on October 24th. The banker was polite but firm. He pulled up Tyler's loan documents, his payment schedule, his projected cash flow. They sat in a small office with beige walls and fluorescent lights. There was a calendar on the wall, October 2022, a photo of a red barn. Tyler stared at it while the banker talked. You're short about $70,000, the banker said. Even if you sell every bushel tomorrow, you won't have enough to zero out the line and cover your November tractor payment. I can sell some equipment, Tyler said. I've got an old planter, a grain cart. I can move stuff. How fast? I don't know. A month? 2 months? The banker leaned back. Tyler, I'm not trying to make this harder, but you need to understand, if you miss that tractor payment, the lender can start repossession proceedings. And if that happens, your credit line gets called too. Everything accelerates. Tyler felt his chest tighten. What are you saying? I'm saying you need to talk to the equipment lender. Today. See if they'll work with you. Defer a payment. Restructure. Something. Tyler nodded. He stood up, shook the banker's hand, walked out to his truck, sat there in the parking lot for 20 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. Then he called the Case IH finance company. The rep was professional. Asked Tyler to explain his situation. Tyler did. The drought, the fuel costs, the price drop, the repair bills. His voice was steady, calm, like he was reading someone else's story. I'm not trying to walk away from this, Tyler said. I just need some time. I understand, the rep said. Let me pull up your account. Silence while she typed. Tyler could hear her keyboard clicking. Could hear someone talking in the background on her end. Okay, so you're current on payments right now. That's good, but your next payment is due November 8th. Is that going to be a problem? Yes. How short are you? About $70,000. Another pause. Mr. Brennan, that's more than one payment. That's several months. I know, but if I can sell some equipment, if corn prices come back up, if I can submit a hardship deferral request. But I need to be honest with you. Given the size of the shortfall and the fact that you're less than a year into this loan, it's not likely to be approved. Why not? Because from the lender's perspective, this looks like a loan that was structured too aggressively from the start. And if you can't make the payment now, they're going to assume you won't be able to make it next year either. Tyler's hands were shaking. So what happens if the deferral gets denied? Then we'd begin the repossession process. How fast? 30 days after a missed payment. Tyler hung up. He sat in the truck for a long time. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink. Beautiful. Tyler hated it. Then he opened TikTok and started scrolling through his own videos. The delivery day video, the planting videos, the sunset shots of the Steiger. All of it felt like it had happened to someone else. The decision. Tyler didn't post anything for 2 weeks. His followers kept asking where he was. Some were concerned. Some were impatient. Some had moved on to other accounts. Tyler watched his follower count slowly decline. 65,000, 63,000, 61,000. He didn't care anymore. On November 3rd, he posted a video. It was filmed in the shop. The Steiger was parked behind him, freshly washed, gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Tyler looked directly at the camera. He'd shaved, put on a clean shirt, tried to look composed. I need to tell you guys something, he said. I'm probably going to lose this tractor. He explained everything. The costs, the drought, the prices, the bank, the finance company. He didn't cry, didn't get angry, just stated the facts. I tried, he said. I really tried, but the numbers don't work. And I'm not going to go deeper into debt trying to save something that's already drowning me. The video ended with Tyler walking away from the Steiger, the camera still running, the machine sitting silent in the frame. It got 1.2 million views in 3 days. The comments were overwhelming. Some people were supportive. Respect for being honest. This could happen to anyone. You'll come back from this. Some were cruel, told you so, should have listened to your dad. Farming isn't a TikTok game. Some were angry at the system, at the banks, at the way farming worked. This is why small farms die. Banks don't care about farmers. The system is rigged. But Tyler didn't read them. He'd already made his decision. On November 8th, Tyler missed his payment. On November 15th, he received a certified letter from the finance company. Official notice of default. 30 days to cure or face repossession. Tyler called a lawyer. The consultation was free. The advice wasn't. The lawyer was blunt. A woman in her 50s who'd seen hundreds of farm foreclosures over the years. You can fight this, but it's going to cost you more money and you'll probably lose anyway. The loan is secured by the tractor. If you can't pay, they can take it. That's how it works. What if I sell it myself? You can try, but you'd need to sell it for enough to cover the full loan balance, which is $460,000 at this point, and you'd need to do it in the next 30 days. Can you do that? Tyler thought about it. A used Steiger 620, 1-year-old, in the current market, maybe $350,000, maybe $400 if he got lucky. Not enough. No, Tyler said. Then let them take it, the lawyer said. It's gonna hurt, but fighting it will hurt worse. She paused. I've seen a lot of farmers in your situation. The ones who survive are the ones who let go before they lose everything. Tyler nodded. He paid for the consultation with a credit card. On December 12, 2022, a flatbed truck arrived at Tyler's farm. 2 men got out. They were polite. They had paperwork. A court order authorizing the repossession of the Case IH Steiger 620. Tyler handed them the keys. He didn't film it. He didn't say anything. He just stood in the yard and watched as they loaded the tractor onto the trailer, strapped it down, checked the chains. One of the men, a guy in his 40s with a gray beard, looked at Tyler. Sorry, man, he said. Tyler nodded. The whole thing took 40 minutes. When the truck disappeared down the road, Tyler walked into the house and sat at the kitchen table. The house was quiet. His grandfather's rifle still hung above the mantel. His father's farm maps were still pinned to the wall in the office. Tyler thought about the 60 years it had taken to build this farm, about how fast it had all come apart. He thought about calling his dad. He didn't. What would he say? You were right. I'm sorry. I failed. The next day, Tyler called his banker again. I need to know where I stand. The banker pulled up his accounts. You're still carrying the operating line, $238,000, and without the tractor, you can't farm the acres you were planning to farm next year, which means you can't generate the revenue to pay down the line. So what do? You sell land. Tyler felt something break inside him. How much? At current prices, 400 acres would cover the line and give you a small cushion. 400 acres, 1/3 of the farm. Tyler's grandfather had bought the first 240 acres in 1961. Tyler's father had added another 400 in 1983. Tyler himself had bought the remaining 560 acres in 2020, right before he took over. Now he'd have to sell almost half of what his father had built. Which acres? Tyler asked. The banker looked at him. The best ones, the ones that'll sell fastest. Tyler nodded. He listed the 400 acres in January 2023. It sold in March for $2.1 million. The buyer was a farm management company. They paid cash, closed in 2 weeks. After paying off the operating line, paying the lawyer, paying the taxes on the sale, Tyler had about $170,000 left. He kept the remaining 800 acres. Bought a used Case IH Magnum 280 for $60,000. Scaled back his operation. Stopped posting on TikTok. His account still existed. The videos were still there, but Tyler never opened the app anymore. It's 2024 now. Tyler still farms. 800 acres, corn and soybeans. He does custom work on the side, planting and spraying for neighbors who need extra help. He drives past the Case IH dealership sometimes. The Steiger isn't there anymore. He doesn't know where it ended up. He's never looked. His TikTok account still exists, 82,000 followers, but he hasn't posted in over a year. Sometimes people still comment on his old videos. What happened to you, man? Come back. Hope you're doing okay. Tyler's not bitter. He's not angry. He's just tired. He lives alone now. The house is too big for one person. His grandfather's rifle still hangs on the wall. His father's maps are still there. Tyler called his dad in April 2023, after the land sale closed. I had to sell 400 acres, he said. His dad was quiet for a long time. I'm sorry, Tyler. You were right about the tractor, about the debt. I wasn't trying to be right. I was trying to protect you. I know. Another pause. You still have 800 acres, his dad said. That's more than your grandfather started with. That's something. Tyler nodded, even though his dad couldn't see him. Yeah, it's something. They talk more now. Not a lot, but more than they did before. Tyler thinks about that day in March 2022 a lot. Standing in the dealership parking lot, keys in his hand, camera rolling. If he could go back, would he do it differently? He doesn't know. The tractor wasn't the problem. The drought wasn't the problem. The prices weren't the problem. The problem was that he'd built a plan that required everything to go right. And in farming, nothing ever goes completely right. Tyler's grandfather used to say that farming wasn't about getting rich. It was about surviving long enough to hand something down. Tyler understands that now. He still has 800 acres. He still has the name. He still has a chance. But the Steiger is gone. And with it, the version of himself that thought he could do it all faster, bigger, better than the generation before him. That version doesn't exist anymore. What's left is a 29-year-old man standing in a field at sunrise, wearing his grandfather's coat, driving a used tractor, doing the same work farmers have always done. 1 acre at a time, 1 season at a time, hoping the math works out, knowing it probably won't, but showing up anyway, because that's what farmers do.